This puzzle makes no sense at first glance. Who's to play? Is it checkmate? Queen c5? You get it. And that's because the paper itself gives about as much indication as a BMW driver at an intersection. Luckily, OP mentions bishop d7 is the first move, so we have to infer that it's black to play. And you can only move the knight. If you go to any of these squares, you blunder mate in 1, so let's try the other squares. Knight f3, that's checkmate. Knight e2, also checkmate. Knight c3, again checkmate. And finally, knight b4. It looks safe, but this is also checkmate. So the real puzzle is for white to not fuck this up and deliver a stalemate. This next puzzle gave me a major ego boost because I solved it within seconds, but the solution is not so intuitive. White to move. Your rook is hanging, your pawn is hanging, and your queen isn't there, which is sort of the trick to this puzzle. I just know that queen takes f7 is screaming at some of you, but I assure you it doesn't work. Also, queen g3 looks promising, but just f6, and yes, the pawn is pinned, but you still lose the bishop. So what's the solution? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's queen to f6. Brilliant move. If black doesn't take for some reason, that's checkmate, but if they do take, then rook to g3. The king only has one square in the corner of the board, and bishop to f6 is checkmate. I'm proud of you if you saw that one. This puzzle is pure chaos. The solution has to be checkmate in 2 moves. Black's king is exposed and white's king is entrapped, so both are in a world of trouble. But white has a plethora of checkmates, only one of which leads to checkmate in 2. You might think queen a7 check. Sorry buddy, because after queen blocks, queen a1 check, pawn blocks, rook d3 is checkmate in 3 moves. What about rook e4? Well, the king goes to d5, now the bishop is sniping on g2, so we can play rook to c4 check. King e6 and queen d6 is mate, but that's also 3 moves. What about knight f3? Good try, but similar to last time, king escapes to d5, and after this discovered check, which also cuts off this square, the rook can block, and then queen d6 is mate in 3. Also, bishop takes is mate in 4, even worse. So what's the solution? Well, it's to play the extremely silent rook to g3, which vacates e3, which is where you want your queen to be. Why g3 and not f3 or h3? Well, if f3, then you cut off the bishop and black can escape, and if h3, then knight f5 covers e3 again. But wait, you can play knight f5 after g3 as well, right? No, because rook to g4 is then checkmate in 2. And if black plays pawn takes, then this is checkmate. And finally, if c3 to block the queen, then rook back to d3 is checkmate. So it ain't such a silent move after all. Hope this video changes your life.